Greetings, and today I have a different kind of video for you guys. So this is a kind of video that I've actually made before, and I am now finally calling it something. So this will be known as the 5 list video. So essentially we just make a topic and then I select 5 cards out to sort of like, you know, fit that topic. So for example, like top 5 favorite cards, top card for each faction. We're talking stuff like that. So I made one of these before last month, and that was before the patch last month happened. So I tried to predict which 5 cards are going to get changed. I also put in a bit of input and a bit of bias as the cards I hope that would get changed. I know I put in Gontro, Dim, and Redea as 2 cards that I predicted that would get changed, and also I also wanted to get changed. So, you know, it's an opinion-based video, so, you know, there will be some hot takes, especially from many of you. So if that's what gets sort of conversations going, then you know what, I am happy with it. So, you know, feel free to be like, oh, that's a bad prediction, blah 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 blah. I don't mind. You know, if it gets you guys engaged, then, you know, that's kind of all I want with these videos at the end of the day, is to sort of getting us all conversing. So that's the whole idea behind this video, and I'm calling it the 5 list. So you'll be seeing more of these a bit more frequently, just so to get an idea behind sort of what my thoughts are in the overall game of Gwent. Because whenever people ask me what are your thoughts about this and this and this, it's kind of hard because it kind of puts me on the spot, doesn't give me a lot of time to think, so it's a bit tough. But at least with something like this, it'll be relatively easy. So we are going to do this not top 5, but 5 cards I think should get changed. Obviously a lot more than just 5 cards are gonna get changed, and keyword I said cards for this particular video. I am not touching hidden cache. So a lot of you definitely think hidden cache is the problem, but why I think it's some of the cards inside Syndicate that actually make it a little bit more problematic than just hidden cache. So we are actually going to go through it. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first card we have on the list of cards that I predict will get changed, we have Sol from Syndicate. So Sol is a 7 provision card with 4 power, and the ability is on Horde 3, you boost by 1, Horde 6, 2, and then Horde 9, 3. Now, of course, with Hidden Cache, because Sol is used very prominently with Hidden Cache, it can get up to 7 power actually with just Horde 3, and I actually think that's a little bit too powerful. So what I actually decided to do was to change down Sol's power from 4 to 3. Now, that might not seem like a big change, but in all honesty, if Sol gets answered by, let's say, a card like Decoction or Parasite, it honestly isn't the biggest deal in the world because Sol is already a cheap 7 provision card as it is. I considered putting Sol up to 8 provisions, but I feel like that might put a little bit too many restrictions when it comes to deck building. So I wanted to give still a little bit of leeway for deck building flexibility, so I decided just to nerf Sol's power as opposed to its provision, and pretty much everything else just remains the same. It just means that Sol is a bit more accessible to removal cards from Parasite, from Delirium, Decoction, etc. The next card, another card from the Syndicate faction, we do have Madame Luiza. So Madame Luiza, I changed the provisions of Madame Luiza from 9 to 8, but I changed its deploy to an order. So essentially what this means is that Luiza now actually has to remain in the board for, you know, because the way it works was you slap Luiza onto the board with deploy, and essentially you can just wait to play the tribute whenever you want. The thing with the order is you can't just really do that. You have to remember to activate Luiza's order ability. If you forget, then you forget, that's on you. And it also gives it a little bit of a risk to allow Luiza to be destroyed by, again, cards like Parasite, Delirium, Decoction, etc. Because there's only one of those cards in every deck. You're not gonna see 2 of them, okay? So, you know, between Sol and Luiza, I mean, you choose one. So, I mean, it's something that big of a deal if they get destroyed. But what I did end up doing to it, another thing I did to it was I did sort of try to balance that nerf a little bit by changing its provisions down from 9 to 8. That may seem like a lot because of Luiza's capabilities of, you know, getting a free Savola with no tributes necessary out there, which is going to be really tough. But with the order thing, it kind of sort of gives that sense of awareness to the player playing it and also to the opposing player, so that, you know, there is a bit of risk on keeping Luiza on the board a little bit longer now, because you can't just play the tribute whenever you want. You have to remember to play the order ability. So that is the change I made to Luiza. Now the next one's an interesting one because I don't ever see this card get played at all, and this is Pol Marin de L'Enfant. So what Pol Marin does, he is one of those sort of half like two-way cards where it's like you kind of need another card in hand to get its Death Blow ability off. So essentially what this card does is you deal damage to an enemy unit by 2, and if you destroy it, then you grant shield to adjacent units. What is shield gonna do to Nilfgaard? Protect engines, that's about it. If this was a Northern Realms card, then I can definitely see this card getting more use because Northern Realms does have some shield support. But there's no shield support here, not a lot of shield support, if any at all, in the Nilfgaard. So I've actually decided to change its Death Blow ability from 2 shields to locking an enemy unit. I think giving it an extra lock support would be pretty good. That gives more lock support to Nilfgaard. So, you know, you can have Pol Marin in for the locks. You can also have Milton in also for a little bit of control as well. So at least that gives them a little bit more support to some of the mechanics that Nilfgaard, one of the many mechanics that Nilfgaard uses to win games. Power stays the same, provisions stay the same. It's just the Death Blow ability that I have decided to change. Next one's an interesting one because it is a stratagem. So and this may be the one where I'm kind of considering even changing it down even more. So this is Basilisk Venom. It is an ability that lets you randomly poison an enemy unit. Now, of course, if you're playing pro, randomness really is something that you want to sort of throw out the window. You want to win by skill, which totally makes sense. I mean, it goes by a lot of people that want to play this game competitively or even semi-competitively. So I decided to try and make the change of you being able to target your unit, but sort of giving it a power restriction as to what you can target. So I have decided to add the max limit of units you can target with this stratagem to 5. Now that might be a bit too much because now it can get abused by, you know, Nilfgaard decks that run heavy poison. You can also run you can actually poison an enemy unit in 1 turn. So let's say if they get out, let's say a Necker and Draco Warrior, Necrorat, Demon Corsair. So any engine units that are going to be really problematic, or even actually a problem with this would be the longship, the Ancrate longship. So that's definitely going to cause some problems with Basilisk Venom. So like I said, it might have been a bit too powerful. You could even consider bringing it down to 3 because, you know, it's really only going to be used by Nilfgaard decks. Maybe you'll see some scoia'tael decks run it. That is, of course, if it has this ability. That's what I'm saying. But I think, you know, making it just making it more useful, I think for stratagems might not be so bad. But I can definitely see this one being abused heavily if this ability is implemented. But I also wanted to look at the stratagems as well, not just the cards and leader abilities and such. So I did decide to delve into there as well, because there are some stratagems, in all honesty, that are just absolutely like useless. So I'm not even gonna lie about that. And last but not least, we do have Vandergrift's Blade. Now what Vandergrift's Blade does is it boosts a unit by 6, and whenever you play a knight, you boost that knight by 1. And it's also for 8 provisions. So Vandergrift's Blade's an interesting one because a lot of the cards in Northern Realms that have the knight tag are actually used in quite a bit of Uprising decks. So notable ones are Reynard Odo, which recently got buffed, and Visegard as well, which is a very good card to have on any Uprising deck that you run. So with Vandergrift's Blade, I decided to lower the provisions down to 7, and I also decided to decrease the boost to 5, although, you know, I could change it even down to 4 as well. And the reason for that is because it kind of adds a bit more flexibility on deck building with Uprising decks. So, you know, when you add Reynard Odo and Visegard, they already get boosted by Vandergrift's Blade even before Visegard gets that inspired off. So what this does is it actually denies sort of like the pings from the Ancrate longship. So, you know, like when you place in Visegard and it instantly gets pinged by the longship, you have Visegard's inspired that will boost it, but you also have that additional boost from Vandergrift's Blade. So it gives it sort of an extra layer of protection. So now the thing is, though, it is an artifact, so it is, of course, susceptible to Bomb Heaver. Because right now, all Bomb Heaver really does is hit scenarios, because that's really the only artifacts that people even play nowadays. So, you know, Vandergrift's Blade will get hit by Bomb Heaver, of course, because it is an artifact. But hey, being able to be more flexible with the deck building, I think is really good. And I'm actually pretty interested in Vandergrift's Blade. I might actually include it in a future video for another Uprising deck, or probably any inspired base deck that I might try out. So those are the 5 cards that I predict that are gonna get changed. Well, 5 of the many cards, hopefully, that get changed. And let me know what you guys' thoughts of it are. Leave a like, of course, if you guys did enjoy this video, and if there's any changes that you guys think should be made, then definitely leave them down in the comment section below. And other than that, This is Enzo signing. Oh, and of course, subscribe for more Gwent content. And other than that, this is Enzo signing out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.